What's going on, Horrorhead family? It's Rico, and I'm back for another video. Have y'all seen Scream 7 yet? Because I honestly don't think that you can be a real fan of the franchise if you haven't even seen the movie yet. Before we go any further, I just want everybody to know this video has spoilers in it. So if for whatever ungodly reason you haven't even seen Scream 7 yet, you might not want to watch this video. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we're just gonna jump right on into it. This movie has a lot of mixed reviews, and for some reason it seems like Scream 7 is the most divisive movie of the franchise thus far. I saw it in theaters when it first came out with a friend of mine, and I had some initial thoughts after seeing it. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that my opinions about the movie were actually my opinions and not influenced by how everybody else felt about the movie. So I went to go and see the movie again in theaters, and it really solidified how I felt about the movie the first time. In my opinion, everything that I loved about it outweighed the small things that I may not have enjoyed about it. I will be so bold as to say that I really think it was better than 5 and 6. I was so nervous to make this video because when I'm by myself, like when I'm not recording, y'all have no idea, I really sit here and talk to myself about the franchise as if I'm making a video. And it's just because I naturally have so many thoughts roaming around in my head, and I always feel like I'm gonna miss something, and then I procrastinate with putting the reaction or review out because my mind's all over the place. I'm going to start with the things that I loved about this movie. Scene for scene, it just had a great flow. It had an amazing flow. Now, at first, I wasn't really drawn into the opening of the movie, but when I watched it a second time, I had to really sit back and kind of check my expectations, because I feel like we're always expecting every movie, every opening to be as iconic as the original. And I just don't think that we're going to get that anymore. And I think we need to stop expecting for every Scream movie to mirror the iconicness of the first movie. I really sat back and kind of just took the opening for what it was. And I must admit, I did not hate it. You know, I mean, could there have been more? Yeah, maybe, but I'm not a screenwriter, so hey. Scene after scene, it just was a collection of really good scenes, one after the other. Like, I love the entire build-up of the movie. The movie kind of didn't start falling off for me until maybe halfway through the third act, which I think is pretty good. You know, what happens is, in the first two Scream movies, scene from the beginning to the end, cover to cover, scene after scene, I loved, because every single scene added a new layer to the overall mystery. Every part of the movie kind of keeps you guessing and keeps some sort of momentum and excitement, whereas starting with the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth movie, it kind of roller coasters. Like, I may really love the opening, but then these other couple scenes, okay, I could do without, but then it kind of picks back up, and I love these other scenes that follow, but then it kind of drops back down. It kind of roller coasters. Whereas with Scream 7, it was a big chunk of the movie sequentially, like scene after scene, I just really loved. And I loved how they introduced certain characters and stuff like that. I feel like this was an organic buildup of suspense. You know what I mean? The second thing that I loved about this movie, the writing, the dialogue. Oh my goodness. 5 and 6 was a little iffy for me. And I'm not necessarily talking about the things that happen in the movie as much as I'm talking about like actual dialogue, like what the characters are saying, the verbiage that they're using. 5 and 6, some of it is a little corny, I will admit, but 7, the writing, the dialogue, the conversations that the characters have, I just love it. What I absolutely loved above everything else is that finally, after 30 years in this franchise, we saw Sidney actually breathing. We saw her exhaling for once. Now we actually got to see her function in a way that I don't think we've ever seen her function. Even in the fourth one when she wrote the book and she was on her book tour, we didn't get a chance to see Sydney kind of relax because baby, the second she got into town, bitch, the killers was waiting on her, you know? And in this one, we got to see her be a mother. She had that space to dedicate time to actually being a mother and being a wife. And you got to see her flourish in her soft girl energy. Now, baby, one thing about it, when they announced the recasting of Mark, I think we all were a little disappointed, but let me tell you, baby, he was not the Mark that we wanted, but he was damn sure the Mark that Sydney needed. Cause baby, that man, he was a good man, Savannah. The way that man was protecting Sydney throughout the entire movie, with the exception of when he got stabbed up later on. But every other time before then, watching her be protected, baby, she had a man that she could really call on and depend on and actually trust this time. And it just made me feel good to see. I love that there were so many different, very interesting and engaging storylines that were happening. You had the dynamic between Sydney and her daughter. You had the dynamic between Sydney and her husband. And I really loved the evolution of Sydney and Gale. My goodness, what an amazing way to like bring them together. I just really loved seeing Gale and Sydney come together. They've been very cordial up until now, but Scream 7 really solidified the alliance between Gale and Sydney acknowledging that she should have been there for Gale in New York. I really enjoyed that. I love that we got to see a more human side of Gale. The evolution of Mindy and Chad to now see that they're working with Gale, it completely makes sense. It's not forced at all. The suspense was there. When Tatum's friend got killed in that theater, that really gave me anxiety to see that girl like strapped. Like, I'm a very claustrophobic person. I can't be restrained or tied down or held down because it makes me very anxious. So seeing her in such a vulnerable state on the stage, just in this harness that she had no control over, she couldn't even get out of the damn harness. So that entire scene really gave me anxiety. That entire sequence did not even let you breathe long enough before we went into the next suspenseful sequence, which was Sydney and her family at home when the killer popped up. That entire scene when they were at home is my absolute favorite scene and sequence of the entire movie because the buildup of it was so suspenseful, and it was organically suspenseful, you know what I mean? Because nobody knew that the killer was in the damn attic, and to see the killer in the house and be so close to Sydney, her husband, and her daughter, but nobody knows, it was just like, And in that one moment when Sydney kind of walked out of her room and Ghostface was right the fuck there, but she didn't notice yet, and he went into the other room. And then, by the time they actually noticed that something was wrong, that entire thing where Ghostface had the knife to Tatum's throat, I loved the way their family operated as a unit. Like, even though Tatum was just a little bit, like a tiny bit rebellious in a way, when it was time to follow suit, she followed suit, you know what I mean? And to just sit there and watch Mark protect his family, baby, and he didn't do any second guessing at all. He just stepped up and he was fucking ready, okay? And then it led directly into the scene from the trailer when they were behind the wall. That was a very suspenseful thing. I liked that the writing was a little, it felt reminiscent of how intelligent and how clever the first two movies were very written. Like when Ghostface was stabbing through the wall and Sydney knew, I can't remember what she had. Was it a bat or was it just a metal pole? But the way Ghostface stuck that knife through the wall and Sydney just bent that fucking knife, I was like, baby, the writing is back. They brought the suspense back with Ghostface and Mark fighting for a second time, and then Sydney knocking Ghostface upside the motherfucking head only for Ghostface to roll in the street and then get hit by a damn car. And for us to wonder who's in this damn car. And then Gale steps onto the motherfucking scene. It was just so good to me. Like, they made a lot of smart choices. It was the perfect balance of feeling like the original Scream, but also modernizing it for the new audience. It was the perfect amount of serious with a tiny bit of camp, but it never went too far to where it was corny. It was just so... The balance was brilliant, and I would like to think that that's because Kevin Williamson was back co-writing. The characters, to take it a step further when we're talking about the writing, the characters, I felt a little more connected to them this go around. Something about the writing of the 5th and the 6th one, the characters don't really seem like individuals. It feels like one person wrote all of these people, if that makes any sense. Let's talk about what I may not have liked about it. The first noticeable thing for me that I didn't really enjoy are the CGI aspects to the kills. Usually with Scream specifically, we're more used to practical effects, and that's what makes it feel a little more real for us. I don't know how I feel about using CGI in a Scream movie, or overly using it. I feel like this movie had a little more CGI than I would have desired, especially when you add on to it the whole aspect of the AI thing. You got the AI and then the CGI kills. It just didn't really, But I can get over that. I didn't enjoy how, yet again, we have this small killer, but then this small woman framed killer, but then when we were in the bar, the killer literally lifted the boy up by his head and stuck him onto the bar tap or whatever the fuck that thing was. It was sharp. That was like really weird to me, because like, okay, so I'm supposed to assume now that Ghostface has Michael Myers-like characteristics. It was just, I didn't really like the AI aspect. I did not enjoy the fact that we got the opening kill. We got the kill with the girl in the theater and the boy who was working the little strings, whatever that contraption is that you call it. But then after that, we didn't get another kill until about the 3rd act. Usually the way Scream formats their movies is we get the opening kill. There is a kill about 30 minutes later. And then there are kills sprinkled in leading up to the 3rd act of the movie. But this time, it was a lot of the movie where we didn't get any kills. But it's like a double-edged sword, because while we didn't get any kills, the movie still kept me very interested because of the other things that I talked about previously, you know, with Gale's relationship, Sydney and her daughter's relationship. And so I guess when I think about it, it's a good trade-off, because the scenes where we had more dialogue, they were actually pretty good scenes, and so they kept me interested. We didn't get a lot of Ghostface calls. Where was Ghostface in this movie? I mean, we saw him physically. We saw Ghostface physically, but we didn't get to really speak to Ghostface. You know, the AI did most of the speaking, and so I kind of missed that. I missed the intelligent and clever back and forth banter that Ghostface usually has with his victims before he hacks their ass up. And so I kind of wish we would have got that. And is it me, or does the Ghostface voice sound a little wonky these days? Like, it sounds like Ghostface in Stab, but it doesn't necessarily sound like Ghostface in Scream, if that makes any sense. So I wish I would have got a little, more of that. Let's address the elephant in the room, because I feel like collectively a lot of us did not enjoy the killer reveal. But hey, like I said, you can't win them all, okay? And I feel like after 30 years, I mean, what else can you be mad at Sydney about? I mean, damn, baby. Can a bitch just rest? Now, While I did not enjoy the killer reveal of who it was, what I absolutely loved was how they revealed that there was a third killer. Because once that first Ghostface got run over by Gale, I wasn't even really thinking anymore that there could be two other killers. So when Tatum is fighting with Ghostface in the coffee shop and she was getting ready to run away, it completely floored me to the way they revealed another Ghostface. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed how they revealed that they had a third Ghostface, but I didn't enjoy who the killers were. That guy, we only seen him in like one of the scenes, so it was very like, who the hell are you, sir? But if I had to rate this movie, I would probably give what I did not connect with is how I wanted more kills sprinkled throughout the movie. I feel like because it had a large portion of the movie that did not have kills, that space was taken up by us wondering if Stu was alive or not, only for him to not be alive in the end. Like, with the killer reveals that we did get, I almost wish they would have found a way to bring Stu back, because then it would have made a little more, everything else would have made a little more sense. But most of the time in the movie was taken up of us wondering, is this Stu or is it not Stu? Only for us to find out that it wasn't him in the end. And I'm one of those people who has always wholeheartedly believed that Stu Macher is dead. Stu Macher has been dead. He has never came back. Even if they were trying to bring him back in the third Scream movie, he always was gone to me. So, but that's a conversation for a different movie. But if I had to rate this movie overall, I would honestly give it an 8 out of 10. Are there things that could have been improved upon? Yes, but that's with every Scream movie, okay? Other than the first and the second. So I mean, at this point, I feel like we really need to check our expectations at the door. I feel like I can't express every single thought that I have about this movie, because this video would end up being about 2 hours long, or even longer than that. For now, I will say that I was not disappointed in it. I will say that the suspense was there, the writing was there, the character development was there, the kills were there. I feel like we got a lot more than we may feel like we didn't get. I was satisfied. I'm excited for Scream 8. Please drop down below. Let me know your thoughts of Scream 7 if you have already seen it. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know the things that you enjoyed about it, the things that you didn't enjoy. Let me know if you agreed or disagreed with some of the things that I said. I will be making a couple more videos pertaining to Scream, so just stay tuned. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all on the next video. Peace.